Welcome, students of fitness, to the first ever Liftology Podcast. My name is Rich, and this is Joe. What do you got for us for topics today, Joe?
I thought we could start by talking about functional fitness as a buzzword in the industry. Kind of lost its meaning. And an interesting article from Insider.com about Instagram influencers on the sauce.
Problem in the fitness industry these days, but people need to work, I guess, and it's not so much that they're on it because I guess you can disclose that and the dangers of it, but the fact that they don't is, I think, the problem.
Yeah, I think so. We'll get to it, but the article addresses it more as the influencers using it in secret and just not being upfront about their use, which, false advertising. It's anyway, let's get into that a little bit later. Let's start by talking about the phrase functional fitness and what it means.
Yeah, no, that gets tossed around a lot, and one of the issues, I think, with just the fitness industry in general is the fact that there's these ongoing buzzwords that just keep going into rotation because it's new, it's flashy, and without context, it's devoid of meaning. And I think going over what it is important.
Agreed.
And I think that we should really put that out there and leave it up for people to decide if they still want to do that as training, and even ask whoever they're working with if functional training is right for them or if they're even doing it correctly.
Yeah. So I guess here's the first argument is what is functional versus what isn't functional. I feel like a lot of it is goal dependent, number one, right? So if let's take, a conventional lift, all right? So if we want to talk about like a squat versus a bench press, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would talk about, well, a squat is pretty functional, right? But a bench press, that's not functional. That's just conventional. But why wouldn't a bench press be functional?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's where we have to go, right? Because you have to discuss what makes it functional. I think you can argue, like you were saying, because it's very specific on what you want to get done. But anything that doesn't look like a clown show or a circus act can be perceived as being functional depending on what your goals are.
Absolutely. So a definition that I read, I have it here. I thought this was pretty good. Any exercise that improves your function or ability to reach a desired goal.
Yeah, I mean,
which is a super broad definition, because if your goal is to do more bicep curls with a heavier weight,
doing bicep curls would be functional.
Becomes functional. Yeah. So I definitely think it being used as kind of to describe these exercises that are, balancing on a ball on one leg while pressing a trap bar overhead. Like, I don't,
like you feel that doing a bunch of separate lifts at once is what makes people claim that it's functional.
Yeah.
While at the same time, functional training is supposed to be strength training to some degree. It could be mobility.
Yeah.
It could be, speed, agility, whatever you're looking for. But if you separate these things, not separate, if you add them all together to do like a squat on a Bosu ball, for instance, you severely decrease the amount of strength you can produce in the squat.
Yes. So therefore decreasing the function of the squat exercise. Yeah. No, it's
but it's the appearance of doing more.
Yes.
That kind of hoodwinks people into thinking it's a functional exercise.
Yeah. And I guess so for me, when I hear functional training, I like to think of where the person is currently and where they're trying to get to. So for instance, if you're dealing with somebody who's elderly and their goal is to be able to stand up from a chair, kind of practicing standing up from a chair becomes a very functional exercise. It's going to help that person improve their daily life.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help them achieve the goal that they set out to achieve. Therefore, it's functional, and I think the same goes for, like you said, somebody whose goal is to increase muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they want to train like a bodybuilder.
Getting up out of a chair isn't going to do anything for them.
Yeah, and for them, training like a bodybuilder then becomes their function. That is,
yeah.
So anything they do at that point kind of is covered by that broad definition of functional training.
Yeah, and to go back to the elderly population, and you're talking about trying to get up out of a seat is one of their big goals, right? I think it's fair to say that you would say a pull up or some kind of pull down in any case, in most instances, would be considered functional.
Yeah. Now,
however, not in this case because it doesn't apply to what their goals are.
Yeah. So I guess with a pull up and a pull down, right? Kind of targeting the same general muscle groups.
Mm-hmm.
Would a pull down be less functional than a pull up? If you're doing a lat pull down on a lat pull down machine, is that less functional than doing a pull up?
I would argue yes.
Okay.
Only in the sense of like absolute strength versus relative strength, and that's got to come into play.
Okay, fair enough.
As far as you might be able to pull down 250 pounds as a 300-pound man.
But you can't do a pull up.
But you can't do a pull up.
Yeah.
So I mean, it ultimately works the same movement pattern. So like I think you can use them in conjunction with each other, but I wouldn't necessarily they say you would get the same desired results if you're looking to do more pull-ups, for instance.
Yeah.
I would say working with like some bands as assistants would be better for your long-term goals of getting more pull-ups done.
Yeah.
Than just doing heavier pull-downs.
I guess my whole thing with the term functional training is it is used as a buzzword. Yeah. It is used as to delineate somebody's training method versus somebody else's training method. Well, my method is more functional.
Yeah. It's a way to bring people into your camp because it's the newest word.
Yes. But a lot of it is kind of crap, right? Like saying that my training is more functional because regardless of what your goals are, if your goal is to lose weight, right? Or build muscle mass, whatever your goal is, I feel like any exercise that addresses that goal is a functional exercise. And I feel like saying that one is more functional than another is, I don't want to call it lying. It's not lying, but it's not 100% honest either.
That's what I was gonna allude to. It's less honest.
Yeah.
Than
If you take somebody who's extremely obese, somebody who's 150 pounds overweight, and you can get them, they're going from no exercise to up and moving, doing anything, going for a 20-minute walk. That 20-minute walk has now become a functional exercise in the sense that it's increasing their activity,
movement capacity, even.
Their movement capacity, it's their level of activity as a whole. And I think that if that is their ultimate goal, to lose weight and be able to do things that they can't do because they're so overweight, everything becomes like a functional exercise. I don't need to take a person who's 150 pounds overweight
and throw them on a treadmill. I mean, not a treadmill, like a stairmaster or something.
Yeah, or
Your goal is to gradually get them to a place where
yeah,
that becomes the functional
yeah,
movement.
or I was
Because at first the functional movement would be getting up and walking,
yeah,
and then after their journey, right, they get to a place where walking is easy. It's not as much of a
yeah,
struggle. You want to continue to push yourself to better yourself. I mean, maybe you go for a walk, you walk half the time, you start jogging, or you get on the treadmill or the bike, or like your options open up as in that person's case,
yes,
for instance.
yeah, but I guess more specific to the functional training aspect of it, I don't think you take somebody who's that overweight and say, well, instead of walking, let's use this cable machine to do a twisting row, because that's a functional move. Like
Yeah.
when you pull something, there should be some kind of thoracic rotation involved in it, and therefore that becomes a more functional thing. That's great, but we're talking about somebody who is losing their breath going up a flight of 5 steps.
Yeah.
So
I mean, eventually you want to get there, but you know what? That's where I feel you fall into the trap of the overly educated trainer,
yes,
where they want to do so much that they learned,
yeah,
while not applying it to the person they're working with.
yeah,
Like your goal as someone trying to help someone isn't to show them how smart you are or how much you know
correct,
or the newest trends. It's to take the tools that you're given and the ones that you keep learning and continue education and apply them where they need to be applied.
correct. Specifically to the client's
Goals
needs,
and abilities.
yeah, and abilities. That's very important. Yeah, because I feel like also, with that said, I'm a big fan of not adding strength to a dysfunctional movement to begin with, right?
Yeah, in that case, all you're doing is strengthening the dysfunction.
Yeah.
Right?
So if they can't move properly, saying doing a some kind of functional overhead press, where, well, if you press with the kettlebell, it's more functional than pressing with the dumbbell. But if they can't get their arm up overhead correctly anyway, or it feels wonky, or, they're talking about pain in their shoulder,
Or if instead of going directly overhead, they're kind of reaching
you
out.
see a lot of that, like, kind of standing incline press, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think,
So you don't load up that exercise.
yeah,
You would do something to kind of get their
I
movement
think
to that place.
doing some kind of, something for mobility at that point would be beneficial to them, to teach them, what overhead actually feels like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that just feels natural to them.
Yeah,
But
they're not thinking. Typically, they're not thinking. I don't want to put everyone in the same pool. There's a lot of people and recognize that they have that fault.
yeah,
You don't want to. You want them to get to the place where they recognize what it feels.
yeah. So with that being said, doing something for mobility at that point becomes like the functional exercise, right? The idea is to improve the function of reaching overhead.
Yeah.
So
The functional capacity in that case would be to get their movement pattern, like to work their mobility is the more functional aspect of that before its strength.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that all comes back to the idea of looking at a functional squat versus, and when I say functional squat, I'm using the term as like the buzzword, right? So like, what is a functional squat? Like squatting with 1 foot up on a step and the other foot on a Bosu ball, and that's functional because it looks crazy and it looks cool, and therefore that's more functional. But if that person can't squat properly to begin with, maybe start them on the floor, and it's still a functional exercise, and nothing has nothing has changed. Still, improving their ability to perform the movement.
I mean, that's part of the reason why what we like to do with our clients is make sure they have the ability to do those things.
Yes.
Like that's the staple of what we want.
Yeah, sure.
Our clientele to be able to do.
Move properly first, and then
load it up after.
And then load it up, and then do it often. Do it. Once you can, build toward doing a proper squat frequently. Because if even if before we're talking about adding loads of weight onto it, just being able to squat properly and then repeat that squat multiple times is going to increase the
your body's going to get used to doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not going to be a struggle to get into the squat all the time.
Correct. And I think
the more you do it, the more your body acclimates to it.
Yeah, and I think the squat's actually a great example of functional exercises, because I think it's probably one of the most functional patterns we have as human beings. It's something we definitely lose over time. When you're taking somebody who hasn't trained ever and ask them to do a squat, it typically looks pretty bad, right? They have no idea where their knees should be tracking. You see a lot of valgus collapse. Their trunk folds forward. It doesn't always look real good. And it's funny because when you compare that to watching a toddler pick something up off the floor, just plop right down. I mean, ass to grass, just pick something up and stand right up, and you're like, wow, we all should be able to do that.
At the very least, we all used to be able to.
Yeah, we all
But I mean, to take this in a little different direction real quick, that's why you see in a lot of places, a lot of third world countries, where typically sitting in a seat isn't something they normally do.
Yes, we are very not functional right now.
This is not a functional position, no. But a lot of cultures, even not even just third world countries, are regularly squatting.
Yeah,
like as instead of sitting in a chair.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have the reference on me or anything, but I do remember reading about in Asian cultures how their record of back disease for people as they get older is significantly lower than ours here. And a lot of it has to do from the age that we're first in school, 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, sitting in a chair all the way up until
8 hours a day at the very least.
Yeah, all the way until you're done with college, and then you get an office job, and what do? You sit in a chair 8 hours a day. Nothing changes.
But because you're doing that day after day, everything tightens up, and unless you're actively working and fighting against the dysfunction that your body is being put in these positions, it's going to be harder and harder to do a squat properly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, being able to do a squat properly, even though you're not, even before you're able to do a squat, the performing exercises intended to get you to squat properly become functional training, right? And the function is
because they're part of the process to reach your goal.
Yeah, and improve just a primal movement pattern that, we're all, like you said, we're all born with it. It's something we've just lost over time. I have a toddler at home, and I used to joke around with a neighbor friend of mine who was having trouble squatting, and I would call my son out and throw the keys on the floor, and I'd be like, "Hey, Jack, pick those up." And he'd walk over and squat right down and pick the keys up. And I'd be like, "See, that's what you need to be doing."
Guilt your buddy into getting into the squat position correctly.
Yeah. So,
but a lot of times too, this has nothing to do with the functional as a training, but like people don't even realize they're in these positions all the time. Just in general, we're used to it because we're the circles we run in.
Yeah,
people are always moving, right? Talk about people working from home even over the last few years.
Probably gotten worse. I feel like at least when you were in the office or going to the office, there was either the walk to the office from the train, or park your car and walk to the office, and then maybe you had to go up a flight or two of stairs. Then you would go out for lunch, right? And you would maybe grab some coworkers and walk to a nearby restaurant. Now forget it. Now if you're working from home, you hear these people, they're like, yeah, I don't even know if I get up to use the bathroom. Sit in front of my computer for 10 straight hours. And I'm just like,
that sounds horrible.
It's nuts to me. Yeah, like I can't imagine. I think the whole working from home thing has actually hindered some people more so than helped.
Yeah, I mean, with that, you're gonna go into a whole different
yeah
work
That's
culture and who's got better hours and who's got better abilities, who's privy to stand-up desks at work from working at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a stand-up desk.
Yeah, I saw it. It's, I think they're a great idea. I don't know how how realistic they'd be for like offices, because it's a huge hall, right? If you're an office that has 100 employees, now all of a sudden you're like, oh, let's just go out and buy 100 new desks.
Yeah,
it's a big expense.
But I mean, I don't have the numbers on me. I'm curious to find out what they would be. Maybe next podcast we can go over the cost ratios or whatever of how much they save in medical bills from just changing over to.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been a study of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if just changing the desk is enough, but it's a start. It's definitely a start. Yeah. I guess there's something to be said about standing being functional,
As simple as that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of just brings you back around to the whole idea that, like, when I just feel like if ever hear somebody's like, we offer this new super cool functional training, it's just a selling point. It's nothing more.
Yeah.
Because anything you do at the gym, if it's helping you achieve your goals, it's functional. It's what it comes down to.
And you don't want to shoot anyone down specifically for trying to capitalize on that, because at the end of the day, it's a business and people are trying to make a living.
I agree. Yeah.
But I mean, they should be making a living if they're in this profession, helping people, not lying to people.
Yeah. Well, lying is a strong word. Just not being honest, people.
Okay.
6 of 1, half dozen.
No. I can see a case for that, because, like you were saying, anything can be functional.
Yeah. So, with that being said,
I'll tell you, what is weaponized, however, is lying about your naturalness of getting your physique.
Yes.
And using your physique to sell your programs.
That's the part that bothers me. I don't care who's using steroids, who's not. And even if you're not being honest about it, if you want to post a picture on Instagram after, 12-week transformation and you put on 15 pounds of muscle and you're like, oh, I did it naturally. Well, first off, you're lying. That's number one. Number two, that's fine if you're not trying to financially gain from that, right? If you're going to say, these are my natural results because I followed my program, I took these supplements that I made in my garage and you should buy them.
Yeah.
That's scummy. I don't like that.
And I can make you look like me.
Yeah.
Because that's playing on everyone's natural instinct of wanting to be what they see. Like, I see it.
Yeah.
It can be achieved.
So
some of these goals can't be achieved naturally.
So we referenced the article earlier. It's actually titled "Steroids Are Rampant Among Fitness Influencers," trainers and bodybuilders say. Most use in secret, claiming their gains come from workouts and diet plans. By Lindsay Dodgson and Rachel Hosey from Insider.com. So I can tell you brief synopsis. In the article, they actually talked to an Instagram influencer who names himself. His name is James Ellis, and he talks about how in 2013 he entered his first bodybuilding competition. So he's 32 now at the writing of the article. That was 9 years ago? So he was 24, 23?
I mean, and not to take this in a completely different direction here, but you're seeing a big rise in young men and having body dysmorphia.
Yes.
And what better way to get chiseled than to start taking steroids?
Yeah.
That is not me endorsing it.
No. You're just kind of stating the obvious. You know, it's the easy route, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the article, though, he does say that he started with just oral anabolic steroids, and I have it here, gained 6 to 9 pounds of muscle in 13 weeks, which is, I mean, unreal. That's unreal. Lean body mass, 6 to 9 pounds in 13 weeks. I mean, you're talking half a pound a week of muscle.
Yeah,
it's really.
I mean, typically, what do you look for in a month? Optimally, about a pound and a half a month. I'm talking like optimally.
I mean, yeah,
max is.
That's tough to do. I mean,
yeah, I'm talking. You have the strictest meal plan, the strictest workout plan.
Yeah, no cheat days, nothing. It's like, it's you know, the work you put
getting the right amount of sleep.
Yeah, it's a lot. It basically becomes your full-time job then, right? Like, because you can't be working, right? Because you have to make sure that, just like you said, you're getting the optimal amount of sleep. You're in the gym 5 days a week minimum. You're doing your cardio. You're all this stuff that goes along with it. It's on top of that, it's meal prepping so that you're eating the right macros, everything. It's a lot goes into the optimal performance, like you just said. But he mentions that after being on him, puts on this muscle, wins his first bodybuilding competition, and with the win, he notices his Instagram followers increased by like thousands, tens of thousands of people. Now all of a sudden starting to notice him. So he takes steroids, wins a competition, starts to get more followers, like cycle then, right? So he's like, oh, well, maybe if I do some more steroids,
it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Kind of.
And it's wild. Now, I don't know if I'm sure at some point he was offered like sponsorships by supplement companies, but I mean, there's the false advertising there, right? So now some supplement company contacts you, hey, you want to make some money? Push our product. Tell everybody you have the physique that you now have because you took this snake oil, essentially.
Yeah.
And
that's where the dishonesty comes into play.
Yeah.
Although I have seen there's a numerous amount of influencers out there that do advertise that they do take it, but for every one or two, there's got to be
an
exponential number more that don't advertise.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the fitness industry, right, the people in that world, that small world of the fitness industry, you can look at somebody and clearly see if somebody puts on 13 pounds of muscle or 10 pounds of muscle in 13 weeks, you're going to look and be like, okay, that guy juiced.
Yeah.
Right? It's the novice. It's the person who's not in this world, who just decides, I'm 21 and now today is going to be the day I start getting in shape. They go online, they see this guy, and this guy's just jacked, and he's like, I take this supplement, I follow this program, and spend the money on my program, and they're going to believe that because they don't know any better, right? And I think that's the biggest problem with it. It's whether you're doing it or not. I mean, there's obviously health implications towards using steroids, but that's a personal choice, right? Like if you want to use them, then by all means go for it. But I just don't see. I mean, I do see why you wouldn't be honest about it if it's going to lead to sponsorships and money, but I just don't like it. It's just not. It's just scummy to me. I really don't like it.
Yeah, the false advertising is a problem.
So James Ellis put on roughly 69 pounds of muscle in 13 weeks. Now, in the New England Journal of Medicine back in 1996, there was a study done called The Effects of Supraphysiological Doses of Testosterone on Muscle Size in Normal Men. In this study, 600 milligrams of testosterone were given to the participants. That's 6 times higher than what is usually given in hormone replacement therapy for men with hypogonadism. So basically, that means they would normally receive 100 milligrams of testosterone. People were getting 600 milligrams. They broke it off into different groups. The exercisers who took the 600 milligrams of testosterone saw an increase over 10 weeks of 6 kilograms of fat-free mass, which is nuts. I mean, that's 13 pounds in 10 weeks. It's over a pound a week of muscle.
And I was saying to you before that
and
in
if you put on a
optimal
pound
conditions,
in a month, you know, that's pretty big. The scariest part of this study, though, is that the guys who did the same exercise routine without testosterone were actually able to gain in 10 weeks 2 kilograms of fat-free muscle mass, 4 pounds over 2.5 months. Pretty good.
Yeah, no, that is good. Especially when you're not comparing it to anything.
Yeah. Now the scary part is the group that took the testosterone and did not follow the exercise protocol over 10 weeks gained 3 kilograms or over 6 pounds of fat-free.
So more than the natural that's working their butt off.
So, yeah, kind of we were joking around, you and me, a little earlier. We were talking about being the hardest worker and, using PED means you don't have to be the hardest worker. And, that's just one of those things that people say. But you just take it, not exercise, and still see incredible gains.
Another big thing, influencers, I'm not naming names or anything, I'm just saying some dishonest ones, because there's dishonesty in any business, right? They find the words that strike nerves and get you to latch onto it, right? Like, not hardest worker isn't in the room isn't a word, but it's a phrase, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You can bring this back to functional.
Yeah.
Right? It's just to appeal to emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you said, and then what happens is then I think people start like being able to even, and maybe not monetize, but I'm sure it helps in the monetization of like their routines, right? And then you look at a guy whose physique, you're like, wow, he looks great, right? And the difference over 3 months is enormous, and you're like, my God, look what he did in 3 months. And they're like, well, I followed this strict routine. I woke up every morning at 5 a.m. I ate 3 dozen eggs. Then I went for a 17-mile run. And they didn't do any of this, right? It's all just, but now they start selling this routine. Then people, like you said, they're going to latch on to that, and they're going to be like, this guy is the hardest working guy in the room. He works so hard. Look what he does every day. Like,
I mean, to write that up, the person who does do that is working
it's
hard.
It's like One Punch
Too
Man.
bad. Too bad it's not. Too bad it's not the guy who. Too bad it's not the guy who's giving you the program.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then you get to the guys who really start to certain celebrities who I won't name, but like it's pretty obvious with their their new workout platforms that are out there, and they're like, you could look like this celebrity and look how jacked he is. Yeah, but he's a guy who needs to look a certain way for a movie role. He's got millions of dollars riding on it because it's it's a contract. If you could look the part, it just means more money for you.
In some ways, Hollywood is worse than influencers, because not everyone. I mean, in today's day and age, most people have social media of any kind, right? But movie stars are out there. You see them.
Yeah.
In commercials, in the movies.
Yeah. And I love their interviews with always the generic, whenever they're on a late night talk show.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, your physique for that movie was great. What's the secret? What's your secret? What'd you do?
The hardest worker in the room, baby.
It's 8 hours a day in the gym and lots of chicken and rice and broccoli. I mean, man.
And a side of naughty sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like.
I mean, there are some that you can tell may or may not be using it just because they're not extremely larger, right?
Yeah.
But then there are ones that you could be like, how did you go from a movie where you were rail thin to a movie where you were a fighting machine over the course of a year or two?
Well, I think, so in my opinion, I think Keanu Reeves is a great example of this, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's a guy who they say for the John Wick movie series, worked his tail off. I mean, the guy practiced jujitsu and gun training and literally went through this rigorous training for this movie role. I very much enjoyed the movies. They're really good, but you could tell he didn't get super huge or super shredded or anything.
Well, I mean, he also, to his credit, wasn't looking for the goal of his training for those movies were to be able to use all those fighting styles.
Yeah.
Not to look a certain way.
No, I get that.
Superheroes in general are supposed to
I get it.
be above what we are as humans. They're supposed to be
superhuman.
So I'm not naming names.
No, and I have
so some of these roles, people have to go above and beyond to look a certain way.
Yeah, and I have no problem with them using steroids to look that certain way for a role. I just don't think they should be profiting off of it on the side. I don't know. I just feel like that's.
No, I agree.
It's just not honest.
I mean, you could even sell your programs, in my opinion, if you're advertising that you're using it that way, so people don't expect the same results.
Yeah.
Or they opt to take performance enhancing drugs to reach those goals.
Yeah. Or
that's the individual's prerogative.
Yeah. Or
just be honest about what you're pitching.
Absolutely. Let people do your program and show off their results as your advertising for your program, right? And say, hey, this person gained X amount of muscle, this person lost X amount of pounds, right? And I think that's a truer testament to your program's efficacy than using yourself, who cheated. There's really no other way to put it, right? I mean,
there is a fine line you got to walk in the industry of looking the part too.
Yeah.
Which, as more and more studies come out and more research comes out, it becomes as someone that's trying to help someone, I think that line becomes more blurred because just because you look a certain way, like, doesn't mean that you don't know what's going on, or just because you look a certain way doesn't necessarily mean you do know. You could get to look like a chiseled machine in the most unhealthy way.
Yeah.
But people buy products, you know. My biggest thing is the same as yours. Just I wish people were more honest about their use, because it could potentially harm people.
Absolutely. Absolutely it could. So bringing it back to influencers specifically, I thought it was funny. So they talked to two
I
trainers.
don't want to be doing any dances right now.
They talked to two trainers, and I don't know if I should name their names. I mean, they were named in the article. So trainer Harry Smith estimates half of influencers take some form of PED, and many consider that a lowball estimate. Because when
Still an estimate, though, so you don't want to necessarily pin it
correct
as verbatim what he says is fact.
So because another trainer, Tobias Holt, said nearly all of the influencers that he has worked with were on it. Nearly all. So that's a lot more than half.
I'm not familiar with him.
No.
And I'm not sure the people he's working with. He could only work with potentially people that have already cultivated a following. So his business that with the people that he works with could be already tainted.
Yeah, true.
So those are both anecdotal.
Yeah.
So take those at their word.
I mean, I don't think there's ever going to be an accurate way to assess how many influencers are on steroids, because
you have people that will take their performance enhancing drugs use to the grave.
Yeah.
I mean, you if you know how human physiology works, you'll know.
Yeah.
But not everyone is well versed in how the body adapts to the work that they're put through.
Yeah.
Or the drugs that they're taking, if they are.
So when we get to the negative effects of influencers using steroids, right? I think there's the detriments to the user's health, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people using the steroids.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the young guys who aren't chiseled and shredded, that are on Instagram? They want to have that look.
Mm-hmm.
And after months of training, they're not achieving those. Right? I think body dysmorphia as a whole,
we're circling right
amongst the male population.
A lot of topics in this field are all interconnected.
Yeah.
And this is one of them, where body dysmorphia that we cited earlier pops its ugly head up here, and this fictitious person we're discussing, of months of training and not seeing the results, they'll turn to it to get those results, and that is that person's prerogative.
Or worse, though.
But
I think
it should be, the dangers should be more put out there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody in the scope of the world really thinks that there are no negative effects of performance enhancing drugs now. I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's
as far as like people know, but the extent of what the drugs will do to your body is known.
Yes, but I also think the other negative side effect is not even the guy that, there's going to be the people the handful of people, maybe a large handful of people, that turn to steroid use to finally achieve those desired results. I feel bad for the kid that quits, the young man who gives up because he didn't achieve those goals.
And he thought, that's.
Right? And, You could say, well, he saved his health by not turning to steroids, but like,
But
he's not
but
saving
if he stopped exercising completely because of it, then he doesn't get the benefit of a well-maintained training program.
Yeah, and then I wonder, how many eating disorders then happen because of, well, if I can't be fit and chiseled and look like these guys, then
What am I even here for?
I'm just gonna go the other way, and
it's sad.
yeah, it really is. And I just don't think the influencers who are using the steroids and falsely advertising supplements and stuff and not being upfront and honest about how they're achieving their physiques. I think they're setting a lot of people up for failure, and it's just psychologically detrimental to a young novice gym goer who doesn't know what they should be doing. And you could put together just this garbage junky program to sell out to people to make a quick buck, and they're never going to see the results that you saw. And okay, so you made the money from it, but now that poor guy is, or girl, I keep saying poor guy, or girl, but they feel so defeated, and it's
Yeah, and I'll even put this one out there that because of the muscle mass gain from doing nothing.
Yeah.
You can have an influencer, hit you with the fact that they did do steroids. And then they could give you a garbage program that is potentially harmful in the programming, not even the performance enhancing drug use. Because as you stated, you're just going to get bigger from taking it.
Yep.
So a junk program with steroids, you'll think that they're working in conjunction with each other when they may not necessarily be even doing that.
It's really just the steroids that are getting the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as health side effects, steroid use for the person using it, Dr. Harrison Pope did a study. Now, Dr. Harrison Pope estimates that roughly 3 million American men have used steroids, and close to 1 million of those people, so a third of the people who have used steroids, have developed a dependence. I assume that's psychological dependence, right? I don't know if there's any.
I mean, that's a topic. That specific thing could be another topic for discussion at a later date, because
so in 2017 he did a study on
sample size
on 140 weightlifters that used steroids between the ages of 34 and 54, and found on average higher blood pressure, higher LDL count, which is the bad cholesterol for those that don't know, the low density lipoprotein, and cardiomyopathy, which I think is the enlarging of the heart, right?
Yeah.
Which can all lead to a heart attack.
Yeah.
All three of those things, any one of those three things can potentially lead to a heart attack. And in fact, 3 of the men in the study had already had heart attacks at ages 38, 43, and 46. That's a scary thought. I mean,
that's really young.
That's way too young to be worried about your heart health.
Yeah.
I mean, man. Yeah.
So buyer beware on the fitness influencer programming, and if they're being truthful about their use of steroids. But I think that's a good point to leave off, and come back for our next lesson or so.
Yeah.
A next topic of discussion. We hope to see you all in our next video.
Absolutely. And just for those out there who are watching, we are going to try to release 1 episode a week. So keep your eyes open for that. If you have any ideas for topics, any questions that you want us to address, by all means, send them in.
Leave them in the comments. Look forward to hearing from you.